An email in the Kandahar desert ended 13 years of marriage. She took all the money, moved her new guy into my house, but I didn't break. I made them face the consequences. I'm Nathan, 42, a sergeant with the 82nd Airborne. 4 months in Kandahar, dust and scorching heat, I opened my laptop. An email from Becky, my wife. Subject, be an adult. 3 short sentences. She filed for divorce, drained our joint account, and her new guy, Jeremy, moved into our Spokane home. I read it twice, shut the laptop, stepped into the communal shower. The water was freezing, but not as cold as my chest. That night, I replied with one word, understood. No arguing, no begging. Wilson, my tent mate, glanced over. You good? Fine, I said, voice steady. But in my head, I was already planning. 6 months before deployment, I noticed a shift. Becky stopped asking about my day. She stayed late at the dental office where she worked as a receptionist. Gym 3 times a week, but never sweaty. New clothes, new friends, new phone password. I didn't pry, didn't track her. That's not me. But I wasn't blind. I acted quietly. Moved key documents, birth certificates, marriage license, house deed to a storage unit outside town. My grandfather's watch, my mom's silver went too. I opened a separate account, funneled a portion of my pay. Not much, but enough to avoid being left with nothing if it all crashed. I met Becky in 2010 at a friend's barbecue. I'd just returned from Iraq. She was training to be a nurse but chose dental office work. Less stress, she said. We married 8 months later. She claimed pride in my service but never got it. Her family, dad a banker, brother a pharmacist, had no military ties. When are you getting a real job, she'd ask, as if 15 years in the army was temporary. We bought a house in 2014, small but cozy, through a VA loan in my name. I added her to the deed because that's what couples do, share. But each time I returned from Iraq, Afghanistan, she grew distant, like she was playing a role she'd tired of. My dad died of a heart attack, my mom of lung cancer. They left enough to clear my student loans and start a small safety net. But by 2019, Becky changed. She snapped when I called during her girls' nights. Talked about her friend Melissa, divorced and living free. Complained we had nothing in common. I suggested counseling. She called it a phase. Then late nights, missing weekends, new clothes, unused gym bag. I didn't confront. My dad taught me to think before speaking, be sure before acting. But my gut screamed, and I listened. I prepared silently, knowing a storm was coming. 2 weeks after her divorce email, I sat in the mess hall, phone buzzing, bank alert, another $88,500 withdrawn. Joint account balance, $22.37. Our $47,000 savings, built over years, gone. I set my fork down, opened the app. Money moved to an unfamiliar account, not mine. Murphy, a buddy, glanced over. Bad news? Account stuff, I said, locking the screen. That night, from the base comm center, I called the bank. Becky started withdrawals weeks earlier, small at first, then bigger. The large transfers began the day I deployed. I hung up, stood in the hallway, hearing teammates laugh on calls with family. Normal life swirled around me while I stood in ashes. Wilson found me after dinner. Alvarez said you looked haunted in the mess. I don't open up much, but Wilson saved my ass in Kandahar. I trusted him. My wife drained the account, moved her boyfriend into my house, sent divorce papers last week. Wilson didn't offer empty comfort, just asked, "What's your plan?" "Don't know yet," I said. He nodded. "Need anything, tell me." That night, I couldn't sleep. I opened my laptop, accessed the home security system. Becky forgot I could log in remotely. Cameras showed a strange truck in the driveway, a guy I didn't know walking my dog, holding my coffee mug, wearing my Seahawks shirt. Becky laughed in the kitchen, the one I remodeled last year. No anger, no pain, just cold clarity. I closed the laptop, made a list, called James, my army buddy turned lawyer. Check the VA loan. Request emergency leave. Review refinancing docs. Becky once mentioned in passing. At 5 a.m. before my shift, I emailed James. Need legal help. Discreet. Urgent. He replied within an hour. Call me. Secure line. That call gave me a path. I didn't need to yell or threaten. Just wait, watch, and let Becky's actions dig her hole. 2 months later, I returned to the States. Didn't tell Becky. I rented a motel in Spokane under a different name and met James at a diner outside town. You look like you've been through hell, he said, sitting down. Feels like it, I replied. James handed me a folder, house deed, loan docs, bank statements. Then he pulled out a separate sheet. Found this checking your finances. Refinance application, your signature, but it's not yours. I studied it. Close, but the loops were off. The pen pressure wrong. Becky's doing? I asked, knowing the answer. James nodded. 3 months ago, pulled $330,000 from the house's equity. Forged signature. Forged my signature, borrowed against the house, drained the account, then divorce, I said, voice even. Busy. It gets better, James said. She listed Jeremy, her boyfriend, as co-applicant. Guy's got a record, 2 DUIs, 1 fraud charge. I inhaled deeply. What are my options? James grinned. First, what do you want? What's mine, and for her to face consequences? Good, he said. Here's the plan. The next day, I went to the bank, met the loan officer. I showed my military ID, driver's license with my real signature, and the forged document. His face paled. I need to report this. I already called the police, I said. That night, Becky texted, What'd you tell the bank? Jeremy says someone's asking. I didn't reply. The next day, I went to the county office, filed to block the refinance due to fraud, requested no asset changes without me. 2 days later, Becky left a voicemail, voice shaking. Nathan, we need to talk. The bank's asking about the house. What are you doing? Be an adult. Be an adult, her words from the divorce email. I didn't call back. James called that afternoon. They froze the fake refinance, and get this, her boyfriend Jeremy was driving your truck, right? Yeah, titled in my name. He got arrested this morning, driving on a suspended license from a DUI. Truck's impounded. I smirked. Nice. There's more. James said, Cops found prescription pads in the truck from Becky's dental office, not blanks. I closed my eyes. She's stealing scripts? Looks like it. Police are digging. I sat on the motel bed, feeling a tidal wave building. Part of me wanted to warn Becky, old habit. But the security footage flashed back, a stranger in my house, laughing with her. No, this was my path, and I wasn't turning back. The next morning, I met Thompson, a bank fraud investigator. Tired eyes, coffee-stained shirt, he spread documents across the table. This happens more than you'd think. One spouse deploys, the other sees an opportunity. What now? I asked. We froze the forged refinance, but half's gone. $164,600. I leaned in. Where? Thompson hesitated, turned his screen. Transfers to Daniel Spencer, not Jeremy, someone new. Who's Daniel Spencer? He shrugged. Ask your lawyer. I called James right after leaving. Daniel Spencer, James repeated. Duh. I'll check. An hour later, he called back. Spencer's a real estate broker, specializes in quick cash sales. Becky was trying to sell your house. The transfers were deposits to push the listing. I sat on a park bench, gut punched. Not just divorce, not just money. She wanted to erase my home. It's worse, James said. Jeremy Ryan's got history. Targets women divorcing or with deployed husbands. I found 3 cases. Homes sold below market through Spencer's buyers. He takes a cut, then bolts. Does Becky know? I asked. Hard to say. She might be duped or in on it. I rubbed my face, trying to process. This wasn't just personal betrayal. It was a scheme, and other military families were victims. What's next? I've contacted the FBI Financial Crimes Unit, James said. This crosses state lines, involves troops and VA loans. They're interested. That night, in the motel, I held a beer, thinking about 13 years of marriage. Becky was once someone I trusted, but now I wondered when she changed. My phone buzzed, a text from her. Nathan, call me. The bank's talking fraud. Jeremy's arrested over your truck. What's going on? I typed, "Who's Daniel Spencer?" She started typing, stopped, started again, then nothing. Finally, "Don't know what you mean." 164,600, transfers, house sale, I wrote. No reply. I powered off, went to bed. The next morning, James called. FBI wants to meet. They've been tracking Ryan and Spencer for months. You're not the first, but you might break the case. I met two agents, Patel and Donovan, at the Spokane FBI office. They took my statement, copies of my and James's documents. Your case establishes a pattern, Patel said. Intent, organization. It's a conspiracy, not a one-off. What about Becky? I asked. Donovan glanced at Patel, careful. We're determining her involvement. Did she mention financial trouble? Pressure to sell the house? I thought back. She said we were house poor, needed to downsize, but I covered the mortgage fine. When did that start? Patel asked. 6 months ago, around when she met Jeremy, I guess. They scribbled, asked more. Patel handed me her card. Don't confront your wife or Ryan. We need to build this carefully. I nodded. Understood. That night, Becky texted, "Meet me at Saigon tomorrow. I need to talk in person." I forwarded it to James. The next morning he warned, "Don't go. Nothing good comes from this meeting." "I won't," I said, "but I want to see what she does, thinking I'm showing." At 9:30 a.m., we parked across from my house. At 9:45, Becky left, heading toward the park. 20 minutes later, a car with a Realty logo pulled up. Daniel Spencer stepped out. Jeremy greeted him. They went inside, talked in the yard. "Follow?" James asked. I shook my head. No need. I opened my security app, cameras I installed last year, cloud stored. Footage showed Spencer photographing the living room, Jeremy pointing out features. I unmuted. "List it this weekend," Spencer said. "I've got a buyer, cash, $420,000, bumped to $470,000 as everyone's happy." "What about the husband?" Jeremy asked. "Becky says he's trouble." Spencer scoffed. "Military guys always are. They make noise, but they're busy deployed. Take the cash to shut up." James recorded the screen, every word. I sent Patel access to the cameras with a note. "Happening now." 30 minutes later, FBI vehicles surrounded my house. From down the street, I watched agents lead Spencer and Jeremy out, cuffed. My phone buzzed. Patel. We caught them discussing the fraud scheme, plus conspiracy and forged asset sales. "Need you for a formal statement." "Absolutely," I said. "Mrs. Briggs just arrived," she added. "She's frantic." I looked down the street. Becky stood on the lawn, hand over mouth, watching FBI haul out document boxes. "What happens to her?" I asked. "Depends what she knew," Patel said, "and what you want." I stared at Becky. 13 years of marriage, early happy days before it all shifted. "I just want what's right," I said, voice low. The federal case moved fast. Jeremy and Spencer pleaded guilty, exposing a 3-state network targeting military families. Becky insisted she didn't know the full scheme, said Jeremy convinced her I was hiding money, planning to leave her broke. She claimed the refinance was his idea. She just followed. Maybe true, maybe not. She took a deal, repay all stolen funds, relinquish claims to the house and my military pension, plead guilty to forgery. In return, I didn't sue. The divorce finalized 6 months after her Kandahar email. Clean, no contest. The day I signed the final papers, Patel called. "Jeremy got 8 years for fraud and conspiracy, Spencer 12, and because of your case, we found 11 other military families they hit. They'll recover some losses." I sat on the porch of my rented apartment, watching the sunset. It wasn't just me who lost. Other troops, trusting their homes were safe, came back to nothing. A year later, I sold the house. Too many memories, too much betrayal in those walls. I used the money to buy a small cabin outside Missoula, Montana. 2 bedrooms, 10 acres, a creek out back. No neighbors, just quiet. I retired early after 20 years in the army. Enough was enough. I got a German Shepherd, named him Scout. Started woodworking for locals, nothing fancy, but it keeps my hands busy, bills paid, pension covers the rest. I heard Becky moved to Oregon, working at another dental office, starting over. I don't hate her anymore. Honestly, I don't feel much about her. She chose her path, I chose mine. One afternoon, a letter arrived from a woman in Fort Worth. Her husband, a Navy man, was deployed when Jeremy and Spencer targeted their home. The FBI gave her my name from the case. "You don't know me," she wrote, But you saved our house. Thank you for fighting when walking away would have been easier. I read it twice, stuck it on the fridge. On quiet days when memories cut too deep, I glance at it. It reminds me that, from ashes, something good can grow. I didn't aim to dismantle Jeremy and Spencer's network. I just wanted what was mine. But sometimes, fate pulls you towards something bigger. I don't look for Becky, don't think about her much. She's the past, like the old house, like the years I thought I was loved. Jeremy and Spencer are still locked up, the system for once worked. I don't cheer their fall, I'm just relieved I stood tall. Each morning I walk scout along the creek behind the cabin. Water rushes, birds call, fresh wood scent drifts from my shop. Life's simple now, but real. No one can take this. Not an email, not fraud, not betrayal. I built it, piece by piece, from what remained. Sometimes I think about those other families, 11 troops like me, robbed of trust. My case helped them claw back some of what was taken. Not just money, but the sense of justice, that someone saw them. I'm no hero, didn't seek glory. I did what needed doing, like my dad taught. Stand straight, act right, even when the world turns its back. My cabin's not flashy, but it's home. Scout's not family, but he's a friend. And I'm not the husband left behind in Kandahar anymore. I'm Nathan, the man who found peace within himself. If you've been betrayed, had what you love stolen, you know what it's like to stand in ruins. I was there. An email, empty account, home invaded. But I learned, you don't need to shout to reclaim what's yours. You don't need revenge to win. Just patience, trust in truth, and let your actions write the answer. What makes you rise? A loss, a wound, or the belief you're worth more? Build again, brick by brick, not for them, but for you. Because true legacy isn't what others see, it's what you know you've overcome.